In this section, we'll be talking about ValleyMLS rules and regulations. The ValleyMLS.com mission statement is to efficiently provide participants with innovative technology, accurate information, exceptional education, and superior support to facilitate consumers' real estate needs in a professional manner. It is also important to note that we'll also be discussing compliance and data integrity, all of which are important foundations to a successful MLS. Here we are looking at the ValleyMLS.com website homepage. ValleyMLS.com provides the public with the most accurate and comprehensive home search portal in the area, but displays only a limited set of data for consumer view. In this screen is the homepage for Paragon, which is the MLS service for ValleyMLS participants and members. ValleyMLS.com provides our members the platform to cooperate on real estate transactions by providing comprehensive market data, public records, and a suite of tools to assist brokers and agents via Paragon. So let's get into where you can find our ValleyMLS rules and regulations. The first place you can find that is on the Paragon home screen. In the center section of Paragon, if you were to scroll down, you will see an array of different forms, including rules and regs. The second place you can find that is when you log into your dashboard. So when you go to har.realtor and sign in, there will be a quick links area, and then you can click on MLS compliance. And the third bullet point, again, by going to har.realtor, in the upper right-hand corner under the Education tab, there will be a drop-down menu, and you can find MLS compliance. You'll see the blue boxes below where you can find the actual rules and regs. You'll find the penalty policies and also an immediate fine list. It's really important that you familiarize yourself with all three of these, again, so you know how to enter and search for data correctly and not fall into any pitfalls where a potential fine may be assessed. Let's look at some of the classes that are found in our Paragon system where you can enter properties and search for properties. Under the residential class, you will find a single-family detached. That's your traditional home. Sitting on a parcel without any other structures attached to it. B, condominiums. C, deeded RV/travel trailers. This is where a deeded RV is affixed to the land, may be entered into ValleyMLS.com as a manufactured home property type. D, farm with home. E, manufactured home. F, manufactured home on a permanent foundation. G, townhouse. Let's take a look at a couple other classes. First of all, let's look at land and lots. Property types that can be found under land and lots would be A, acreage, B, deeded RV lots, and C, lot. Under multifamily, there are three different property types there. A, apartments, B, duplex, C, multifamily. Another class can be found is going to be commercial, industrial, or business. You'll see all the property types listed through A through J on the left-hand side of your screen. And then finally, look at the final class under rental. There are going to be several property types there, including apartments, condos, duplexes, a house, manufactured home, and townhouse. There are several status definitions and that would be tied to a particular listing based on what stage of the transaction that listing is falling under. So let's start off at top with coming soon. This is a status which is a limited status for 5 days where no showings are allowed under the coming soon status. And it's really important we get to know that policy. We'll be looking at that policy in the next page. But just realize that when you enter a coming soon listing in, you cannot schedule any showings or let any potential buyers look at the home. You can certainly market it, but you cannot enter the property. The main thing also with coming soon is that after 5 days, the system will automatically change the status from coming soon to active, which is the next status under coming soon. This is where a new listing hits the market and there's no legally binding purchase offer on the home. It's brand new, hitting the market, and the property must be available for showings and submission of offers. The next status would be pending/contingent. This is when an accepted purchase contract is in place for a listing. Look at the asterisk below pending and contingent where it says FROR, which stands for first right of refusal. This is when contracts with a contingency on sale clause means the listing may be left in the active status if properly marked as having a first right of refusal. The next status is sold. Congratulations. This is where you would enter all the closing details accurately and ask for corrections if necessary. And again, the property has went to the closing table and a deed is transferred and the property is no longer available. Expired. This is when a listing has an expiration date that has came and passed. So if you may have a 6-month listing and that 180 days has passed, then that listing is no longer active and would shift to an expired listing. Expiration dates can be extended with seller approval, and it should be done before that expiration date hits in the MLS. Otherwise, you're going to need to reach out to the MLS support team to get that listing properly updated to the correct status. Below expired is canceled. This is when you may have, let's use an example again for a 6-month listing, and somewhere within that 180 days, the seller wants to remove that listing from the MLS. So this is a broker level status, so you will not be able to update a listing from active to canceled unless you reach out to the broker to make that change for you. You can also email the MLS support team at mlssupport@valleymls.com, copying your broker on that, requesting that the property be canceled. The next status is temporarily off market. This is a 30-day limited status, so it's also good to know the policy. But in this status, just like coming soon, you can't market the property or there can't be any showings. Withdrawn is the last status. Property has been taken off the market, but may still have an active contract in place. As I mentioned before, coming soon has its own specific rules, and this is the coming soon addendum. Starting from the top to the bottom, you'll see that you'd want to fill out the owner / seller's name, the address, and look at that first red arrow where it says listing entry date. Entry date is when it's going into the MLS. That's the day you plan for it to be active and be called convert to active date. Okay. Moving on down, you'll see in bold letters that coming soon properties are defined as properties not available for showing. Certain pre-marketing activity is permitted in this status. Coming soon is a temporary status and is limited to 5 calendar days. So, seller acknowledges the following, and the first red arrow points out to the left that this document must be attached to your listing by uploading it and selecting the Add Edit document into Paragon. So there are some important things to acknowledge that the seller knows that they are going to be required to follow as well. The third arrow says entry day is day 1, no matter what time, and the system will convert your listing to active automatically. So after those 5 days have occurred, again, Paragon will automatically transition that status from coming soon into active automatically. So again, it's really important to follow the rules on this one because there is a $1,000 fine if any one of those bullet points or part of the coming soon rules are not adhered to. Clear cooperation policy. MLS policy statement 8.0 again defines clear cooperation. What that means is within 1 business day of marketing a property to the public, the listing broker must submit the listing to the MLS for cooperation with other MLS participants. Public marketing includes, but is not limited to, flyers displayed in windows, yard signs, digital marketing on public-facing websites, brokerage website displays, including IDX and VOW, digital communications marketing, which could be considered email blasts, multi-brokerage listing sharing networks, and applications available to the general public. Photo requirements. All residential and land lot listings in ValleyMLS.com must have a minimum of 1 photo of the listed property before listing is made active in the MLS. Please note, the current front elevation is required for residential listings. So basically, a consumer can take a look at that 1 photo and decipher very easily, yes, that's a single family home, or that is a condominium, or whatever other potential class that may fall under. But that photo should be a simple representation of what that property is for residential. No cloning or reuse of photos or listing content is allowed except with written permission. So again, you don't want to use other people's photos unless you have, again, written permission to do so. No contact information, URLs, agent photos, logos, or promotion of any agent or company is allowed to be watermarked into the photos. So again, each photo should be specific to that particular property and features of that property without any kind of specified marketing. And finally, no real estate signs, promo info, or people in photos within any of the photos used for that listing. So again, we don't want to have any kind of marketing, promotion, or class of people. We just want to do a very good job of just promoting the features of that home and not the people representing that particular home. Complete and accurate information is absolutely critical for an MLS. Bullet point number 1 talks about having a complete address and driving directions. So again, using tax records or something from the deed that you want to have obviously the correct address for the property and directions on how to access that property. So using a GPS or some kind of URL wouldn't be allowed. You want to have a specific starting point and end point with specific turns, east and west, things of that nature. So people can easily navigate their way from a local geographical location that's well known to the endpoint being that listing address. Second bullet point is schools. So you want to verify with the appropriate district because it's absolutely critical for many home buyers, as that's one of the major features or criteria when looking for homes. Below that is rooms. So you'd want to have what level the particular room is on, the dimensions of that room, and particular features of the room. Square footage and source of square footage. So that's going to be important also, as that is a big criteria for buyers looking for homes. Please note that no previous listings or tax records should be used. So what sources can I use? We'll be covering that in just a moment. We have some free member benefit tools that can be used to do that, but you can certainly measure it yourself or have somebody do that for you. But we'll cover that in more detail here shortly. Making sure that the listing is mapped correctly. So you have the ability to go into listing maintenance and making sure there's a pin on that particular map that it's in the right location. We also want to make sure the owner's name, first and last name, are included into the listing. HOA details, if applicable, are important to have in detail, which verifies the HOA and not just the seller's name. So you want to have the HOA's contact name, contact information, if applicable. Finally, you'll see under notes, see remarks is an option under a lot of different fields within Paragon. And just by checking to see remarks is not really acceptable unless it's explained in remarks. The listing agent is responsible for the accuracy of input data. So how do we ensure the data accuracy within the MLS? Well, that is the cornerstone of ValleyMLS, and we utilize a compliance software tool to help ensure we maintain those standards. And that's called Listing Data Checker. There is an automated aspect to this software that will flag certain types of violations, and in some cases send a notice out automatically. So that software every night looks at every one of our listings, a lot of our fields, and data within those fields, so that we make sure that the data integrity portion of the MLS is top notch. Finally, there's also a human element. So this is where agents can report violations along with the system flagged aspect of the software. So they all get processed within the compliance department of MLS. Notice to the left-hand side, there are some colored tiles. Those are called action items. The tile you'll see at the bottom, it's like a blue house with a white check mark. That is the listing data checker tool. You can click on that icon and you can report anonymously something that you feel that may be entered incorrectly with a listing, and a ticket will be created within the MLS support team and compliance department, and they'll look into it. Again, it's anonymous. We won't let people know, the listing agent know who reported it. Again, we're just trying to make sure that the data in the MLS is accurate. Let's take a little deeper dive into the listing data checker software. And if there is something wrong and a notice is sent out, they're going to ask for corrections to request documentation, or potentially even to note a penalty that occurred. Look at the bullet points on the left-hand side. This is where the emails from Listing Data Checker go to. It goes to the listing agent, the broker, and if there's an office email, it would go there as well. Please make sure to read the information inside the box, especially that's highlighted in red to the right. Finally, reply with questions, or if the notice asks for a reply, please make sure you respond in an efficient amount of time, and do not copy and paste the address as noted in the bottom below. So look on the right-hand side. This is a typical listing data checker notification. This notice contains one potential violation, as you can see in red. It'll give the date of the notice. And again, it'll ask you to see below in red what violation occurred. But it'll give all the listing details, the MLS number, and so that you are aware that you aren't second guessing which property is being tagged. And again, what is the issue and the particular rule that may have been violated, so you have time to hopefully correct it if it's not an immediate fine. Let's talk about some of the fines that we see quite a bit in the MLS. And the first one is projected closing date. This is our most common violation, so let's cover that today so you don't see a potential fine down the road when this occurs. So when you make your listing contingent or pending from an active status, you have an accepted offer, you're going to be required to enter the projected closing date. You can see that field below with the red R, which is a required field, and you are going to enter what is that projected closing date. So is it going to be 30 days out, 45 days out? Is it going to be a cash closing? It could be 10 days away. So you just need to enter in the projected closing date. Again, this is just a projected date, but once this date has passed, you will receive a compliance reminder notice updating that the listing status needs to be updated to sold or closed within 3 business days of that projected close date. But if the closing has been delayed, you can use this as a reminder to go into listing maintenance and extend the projected closing date. Failing to update your listing will result in a fine notice. Let's take a look at our penalty policy. Most violations are correctable. We do have escalating fines for repeat offenses. There are large penalties for clear cooperation violations, sharing credentials as your login information. Please do not share your MLS login credentials with anyone else. And finally, there could be a penalty for showings and coming soon or temporarily off the market. Again, please get very familiar with those policies by looking at your rules and regs. The last bullet point is one waiver available per member on $100 fines, which resets every 5 years. So occasionally accidents happen, and we have a policy that there is a waiver on $100 fines. So once every 5 years, if you end up having an oversight, you have a hall pass on that. But that is just for $100 fines. Some of the more serious violations, unfortunately, that will not apply to. And again, you can see at the bottom of the page, there are immediate fines. So unfortunately, there wouldn't be a notification coming out from Listing Data Checker. Some of those immediate fines, talking about bullet point number 1, would be a promo or contact information in any public field. So again, you don't want to talk about contact information, marketing information. And then bullet point number 2 goes on to say that in any signage or promo information in listing photos or virtual tours, that would generate immediate fines. So again, let's try and keep any marketing out of any kind of photos or virtual tours. And finally, that last bullet point under immediate fine says using phrases that indicate the owner would take less than the full list price may appear on the listing. So again, we want to make sure we're working in our client's best interest. So let's go ahead and steer away from any kind of notices that says that the seller would take less than what is being listed. A few more rules to note before we move on and close up this section is that document requirements must be attached to the listing itself. So some of those forms or addendums that you would need to upload through listing maintenance, one would be coming soon addendum, or the temporarily off market listing change, the TOM, standing for temporarily off market. The second form that would be required to be uploaded would be the first right of refusal form. And the third would be the lead paint disclosure if that residential unit was built prior to 1978. The second bullet point, auction listings of any type may only be entered in the MLS by a licensed auctioneer. Equitable interest listings are prohibited. Only the legal owner or their real estate power of attorney can sign the listing agreement. Please reach out to your broker for more information on equitable interest listings. And finally, TLS, Transaction Limited Service. So in many cases, the buyer's agent will likely deal directly with the seller and then must send the accepted contract to the listing agent. So just be aware in that scenario. Couple more slides to go and some questions to come up frequently. One, should I change a list price to match the contract price? No, you should not, but why? So in this scenario, again, let's say you have a list price of $200,000 and the home sells for $189,000. Should you change the list price to match the contract price? And again, you shouldn't do that because that affects the list price to sold price ratio and provides an inaccurate picture of the market. The exception is made for new construction because the actual features of the house will be changing. Second question, can I enter my sale into MLS after it is closed? Yes, but how? Properties sold outside of the MLS can be entered in as comps only listings with written permission from the seller and the buyer. All the same data is required as with a traditional listing. So when did the listing go active, pending, and sold? So again, we can use those data for good comps. Can I post on social media about other people's listings? Yes, but only with their express permission. So clear attribution must be given to the brokerage who is presenting the listing. So if you're talking about some other broker's listing, you would need to get permission and then somewhere in that post say, listing offered by XYZ Realty or ABC Properties. So any social media posts about real estate must clearly identify you as an agent as well as your brokerage. I would also recommend looking at the Alabama Real Estate Commission's rules on advertising as well, as those are specific license law rules that you would need to adhere to outside of the MLS rules and regs. Finally, can I list the same property in multiple ways? Yes, but only in certain circumstances. If zoned both residential and commercial, it can be listed as both. Farm with home can be in residential and land. And finally, residential and rental can be listed at the same time. If you have any questions about these rules and regs, please reach out to ValleyMLS support by calling them directly at 256-489-0553 or by email MLS support at valleymls.com. Again, that's MLS support at valleymls.com.